Hello and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we check out every single fanfic that is not pony related. Why? Well, because sometimes we need to remind ourselves that ponies are not the only fandom that creates the awesome fanfics. There are some others. Really. I have proof. It's there. You just need to know where to find it. Like, for example, allow me to make a statement that I want to say without hyperbole. Babylon 5 is one of the greatest sci-fi shows ever! Intricately woven plots, stupendous character development, wonderful relationships, great characters, well-developed, relatable characters, an expansive world, messages that still have meaning to this day. Heck, some of the stories and messages that pop up in those episodes become even more relevant now than they were back then. Everything from this show is beautifully written, well done, and crafted. I could go on for hours telling you why B5 is the most awesome thing ever. I own all 5 seasons now, and I've been rewatching it from the start. Granted, though, I think I was a little young to start watching B5. I was 8. I think you were supposed to. I think the demographic was 12 and up for Babylon 5. I was not that young, old to be watching Babylon 5, but there I was. Blame my father. He made me watch Babylon 5. And one episode kind of traumatized me for a while, and I think it's responsible for who I am. Actually, several of the episodes I think are responsible for who I am and my love of Fallout Equestria. So, what type of fic are we doing? I mean, I want to showcase something awesome about the show, and I want to bring out a pretty cool fic. Well, as you guys may know, I am a fan of Fallout Equestria, and I think I found Fallout Equestria's long-lost cousin. That's right. You know how, in the pony community, we have a nail situation a lot with what if Nightmare Moon won, or even what if Twilight won. Thank you, Arcade Striker. I will be getting to read Twilight the Terrible soon. Not on the show, but I will be finishing reading it myself. But, or what if Discord won? We've got those type of stories. Well, they're not regulated to pony. Sometimes fanfic writers will do a nail situation, like what if Goku never landed? What if Flash didn't get hit? Those type of stories. What would happen to these characters if situation happened? Well, I decided we're going to read the Babylon 5 one. I say it's Fallout Equestria's long-lost cousin because there are several similarities. Apparently, this is a really good dark fic from the Babylon 5 community. It's like Fallout Equestria. It has been published like Fallout Equestria. It's apparently well known within the Babylon 5 community, like Fallout Equestria. And apparently, a lot of people have discussed about it, like Fallout Equestria. The only thing that this is missed, the only two things that are missing from this are a separate sub-fandom that creates its own fanfics to keep going for ages and ages and ages to come, and an audiobook. Nobody's done a live reading of this Babylon 5 story, not that I could find. I mean, none at all. Which is kind of a shame, really. Maybe if people did more fanfics that are good, we would have an audio read by now. But, sadly, that won't happen. If only there was a live reader out there who likes showcasing different fandoms every Friday and demonstrate why a show is awesome. Hey! Why, I do believe I have a show! So, join us, won't you, while we here at the Treeberry Memorial Library are proud to present A Dark, Distorted Mirror. A Dark, Distorted Mirror, Volume 1, The Other Half of My Soul, by Gareth Williams. Part 1. A dark, distorted mirror. Chapter 1. The Minbari, these cruisers closing, Captain. The commander's voice was tense. He looked up into the face of his captain, hoping to see some sort of miracle he had witnessed before. Instead, the captain's eyes were blank and distant, almost dead. Captain? Captain John Sheridan suddenly came to life. Lay out suppressive fire! Make them back off! A little. They couldn't target the Minbari ship directly, of course, but there were other ways. There were always other ways. Yes, sir! The commander began manipulating the controls with easy skill. He had always been a talented gunner, and, despite his youth, he was one of the most experienced artillerymen the EAS Babylon had. After the captain, of course. The dispersion fire only had a limited effectiveness, of course. Not being able to target the Minbari made their task that much more difficult, but none of them was willing to give up simply because their enemy was better equipped, better armed, and in better condition than they were. As the captain had put it, they fall down too. It just hurts them more. Any sign we've hit them yet, David? Sheridan asked. He was in his chair. He hardly left it these days. Not quite, the commander replied. They're still messing with our sensors too much for us for the tail. Lieutenant! They are slowing down, and their weapons seem to be more effective than ours are. I'll be, muttered Sheridan. Maybe that countering system the Narn sold us actually does work after all. How are the sub-engines looking, Stephen? Another 10 minutes or so. Damn! Fine! Lay out the dispersive fire, David! Sometimes, the commander had a great deal of trouble reading Captain Sheridan, but now was not one of those times. The captain seemed to live for combat, only becoming alive in battle. The commander had heard that the Minbari still called Sheridan Starkiller after the Black Star victory. That had been a memorable occasion. Captain! Spoke up the lieutenant. We're losing hull integrity on the half decks! Down almost 30%! The Minbari cruiser has taken damage at last! 4 thrusters, I think! Captain Sheridan nodded. Good! Order all Star Furies to open fire on Minbari forward thrusters! Make the damage as large as they can! But get out of there after a minute. David, prepare the fusion bomb. He looked so competent and collected, the commander thought. Always ready for anything. No panic, no fear. The commander supposed he understood. The captain had lost too much in this war to have any fears for his life. Star Furies are pulling back! The lieutenant snapped. The cruiser's powering up for forward batteries! Launch the fusion bomb and initiate evasive maneuvers. Get that bomb out there! There was a moment, the commander knew, in the heat of every battle, when time seemed to slow down, when the threat of impending death or the promise of a new life stretched out over what was little of more than a few seconds. How long for the cruiser to fire its forward batteries? How long for the fusion bomb to reach the target at last made visible by damage? Ball launched, Captain, said the lieutenant. He knew about the long second well. The commander clenched his hand into a fist. This was a very long second. Then, the floor seemed to shake and shudder beneath his feet. At first, the commander thought the Minbari had managed to fire, but then the long second passed, and he realized the bomb had worked. So, he whispered under his breath, maybe Narn technology does work after all. He looked around. There was no joy in their victory. This time they won, yes. But what was one victory when set beside the mass defeat? They all had lost so much in this war. Far too much. Get those Star Furies back in stat! Barked the captain. Our jump engines back online. Good. Open up a jump point as soon as the Furies are back in. The nearest safe haven we can dock is Vega 7. So set a course there and get whatever mech bots we've got working to repair the damage. Aye, Captain! So much for this year being better than the last. Sheridan angered. Hey, we're still alive, aren't we? If you can call this alive. It's only mid-January. I have a feeling about this year, Mr. Corwin. I think 2258 is going to be the year everything changes. Status, Lieutenant Franklin. All Furies aboard, Captain. Good. Captain Starkiller Sheridan nodded to himself. This had been a long war. 10 years too long. Good. Wait. Lieutenant Franklin? So, wait. Is the doctor a lieutenant in this? He didn't become a doctor? Whoa! I was not suspecting that! Oh, God. The other half of our soul. The Minbari woman muttered to herself. The other half of our soul. She sat back and sighed softly. She had been there for how long now? A few days, and the prophecies of Phelan made as little sense as they had when she had begun. Less sense than usual, in fact. But she knew why she was down here on Minbar, reading prophecies until she was likely to go blind. This was preferable to being with the Great Council. You need rest, said a stern, commanding voice. She looked up and smiled wanly. Drall had always had effect on her. Her father's best friend. The only part of him she still had left. You have been here far too long, Delenn. When I was a child, you berated me for not studying long enough, she said, her eyes sparkling. That was then, and the great prerogative of age is the ability to change one's mind at will. Then, you were always dreaming, staring out of that window like a statue cast in crystal. And now, you are always studying. The prophecies have been with us for 1,000 years, Delenn. You cannot solve them all overnight. I can try. 14 cycles is hardly overnight, old friend. I thought you might have learned by now. He sat down beside her and began brushing his fingers through the small beard he was taken to wearing. A strange habit, almost Centauri in fashion. You cannot solve the universe all by yourself, Delenn. The rune tried to teach you that, remember? She started and rose suddenly. The rune is no longer here, Drall. He made his choice. As did you. But the fact your choices were in agreement does not make them right. Drall was infuriating when he was like this, but Delenn knew that her decision had been the right one. The rune had his own path to tread, and she had hers. Wherever the rune was now, she hoped he was well. Perhaps you are right, she said. Perhaps I do need rest. She slowly slid her hand over her heart and bowed her head. A ritual gesture, but one which contained so many layers of ceremony and anger and loss, it was almost painful for her to make. She knew that Drall was watching her as she left the library, but she was not troubled by it. It was almost comforting. At times, he did remind her of her father. The sight of the sun of Minbar, reflecting off the crystalline rocks, never failed to take her breath away, and it did now. But while the rocks stunned her with their beauty, they brought little comfort. She saw a white-robed acolyte standing not too far away, and sighed. It appears the call of duty reaches you, Drall said, emerging from the library to stand beside her. Remember the third principle of sentient life, Delenn. I know, she replied, smiling softly. The ability to sacrifice oneself for a friend, a loved one, or a cause. And little sacrifices mean just as much as the big ones. I know. Ashan, the acolyte, walked forward, keeping his head bowed, as was traditional when approaching a member of the Great Council. Satai Delenn, the Great Council requests your appearance. More discussion about the Rangers, I suppose. Brommer was a great man, Drall said. He and Brommer had been friends. There have been many great figures in our history, Delenn replied, and all are dead. Death claims us all, sooner or later. In far too many cases, it is the sooner. Delenn looked down at Ashan. We cannot keep the council waiting. Everything was changing, and not for the better. She suddenly shivered and wrapped her robe. Hey, honey, I know this is a dark universe and all, but there's this guy about all would be nice enough to wrap around you. I'm very grateful for your kind assistance, Minister Nafar, Sheridan was saying, With your help, repairs should only take 24 hours or so. Then we'll be gone.
You're always welcome here, Captain Sheridan,
the Narn said, speaking slowly and precisely. Nafar might have lacked the ruthless ambition to rise far to Kyrie, but at least he had the keen mind and attention to detail that made him an excellent choice to run a colony, even a small one and generally unimportant as this.
We all owe you a great debt. I was at Goras-15 when you helped us in our battle against the Centauri.
Yes, I know. The Narns, eh? Great allies when it came to politeness and fawning. But as for any ships, or mines, or high-velocity fusion bombs, and it was all not politically advantageous, or large sums of money needed to meet overheads. They hadn't been speaking about large sums of money, or political advances, when he had led the Babylon into the Battle of Goras-15, or to carry supplies to Phralis 12, or to launch that last desperate attack against the Centauri at Sector 37.
Oh, stop moaning,
Sheridan thought to himself. They've been useful allies after a fashion. At least they gave us a sanctuary for the Minbari, and even sell us the odd fusion bomb or small cruiser every now and then. Better than no allies at all, I suppose. Thank you again for your assistance, Administrator. My government greatly appreciates everything you're doing for us.
It is a small matter, Captain Sheridan. Would you care to bring a few members of your command crew down to the surface for a little rest? I would very much like to meet you in person.
Why, yes. Thank you, Administrator. I would be honored. And I will see you in 1 standard hour then.
Until then, Captain.
The Narn's face blinked from the view screen, and Sheridan sat back, sighing slightly. There was something about the Narns he didn't just like. It wasn't anything he could put his finger on. But it always annoyed him, having to go groveling to them for help. Perhaps that was it. You shouldn't have had to go groveling to the Narns for help. You shouldn't have to go to a human colony and ask for permission to set out orbit there. Damn it! You shouldn't have to go to a human colony where the humans were ruled by Narns, worked for Narns, and were taxed by Narns. On the other hand, if the Narns hadn't made such a swift move on Vega 7 and other colonies after the Battle of the Line, the Minbari might have turned their attentions there, and turned that planet into desolate rock, just like they had to Earth. Captain Sheridan hadn't been on Earth in over 14 years, and now he would never return. The Minbari stripped away the atmosphere, boiled the seas, oceans, and destroyed every living thing on the planet. People like Corwin, Anna, and General Haig had told him often enough that he couldn't have got there early enough to do any good. But he should have been there, if only to die with his planet. And now, what was he? A rebel leader? A hero? A demon? A mass murderer? Star killer? Husband? Or father? Or simply a man who didn't know when to stop fighting a war he couldn't win? Commander Corwin, I'll be going down to the planet for a personal meeting with Administrator Nafar. Would you like to come with as well? I'll be busy here, Captain. I'm afraid. Corwin replied with false sincerity. Corwin liked Narns even less than Sheridan did.
Very well. Lieutenant Franklin, contact Lieutenants Keffer and Connolly. The 4 of us can fly down there to the surface, and I socialize with the Narn or 3. Yes, Captain.
Franklin did not look happy, but no one did these days. Administrator Nafar, a Narn ruling a colony of humans. Sheridan was not looking forward to this.
Blasted reptile vermin! Ought to chuck them all back into space if you ask me!
Marcus, you're drunk.
Certainly hope so, or all that fine, whatever it was, will have called the least.
Joseph Cole looked fondly at his wife Catherine, who smiled back and shrugged. Her shrug said it all. He's your brother, ergo, your problem.
Only one step above the Minbari, I think. Oh, the Satai too, with those ridiculous hostiles of theirs. But don't they realize just how stupid they look?
Joseph rose to his feet and moved towards his younger brother, who was just gesticulating loudly.
They're Aussie too! You'll have to thought someone could teach them a proper sentence together! It's not that hard. No, Jill, leave me alone.
Marcus, if you keep insulting aliens like you've been doing, you'll get into a fight.
Fine! Take them all on!
Fortunately for Marcus, the bar only contained humans at the moment. The Narns tended to stick to their own places, and there were precious few other non-humans around. Vega 7 wasn't exactly a thriving hub of activity at the best of times. Catherine sighed softly. In the gun.
He's just drunk, that's all. He doesn't mean it.
He's always drunk, Joe. He works on the mines all day and drinks all night. He's going to kill himself one day, if a Narn doesn't do that for him first.
I know. But it's understandable, really. Things haven't always been easy here under the Narns. Not since the war.
Joseph turned back to his brother, who was trying to rearrange his chair into a Centauri crest.
Come on, Marcus. Just go home.
Home?
I got no home. Minbari's destroyed. Destroyed it all.
Joseph sighed again. This was going to be a long night.
You seem a little on edge, Captain Sheridan.
Navarre politely offered Sheridan a drink, which he equally politely refused. He tasted Narn drinks before. Connolly had it and took it. Just a quick swallow later as he was regretting it. Ugh, just a little added tension from the fight, that's all. I always feel like this after a mission.
I see. And what of news of the Minbari? If that is not a secret, of course.
Same as usual, really. Just, well, holding their own.
I have some experience with Minbari, you know. I was told they always acted as one. When the war began 14 of your years ago, they all went mad together. Perhaps they have all woken up together?
A little late for that, isn't it?
What is the human saying? Better late than never?
I've never put much stock into sayings myself.
How are things with your government, Administrator?
Franklin asked. He traveled quite a way before the war, hitchhiking on starships of all things. He was one of the few people on board the Babylon who had ever met a Minbari face to face, and with both walking away alive. Franklin had been training to be a doctor until the death of his father a few years back. That had spurred him to seek a position aboard the Babylon. He had enough medical knowledge to be an effective doctor, but he claimed to prefer this. Sheridan had known General Franklin quite well. Old Firestorm had a good death. Better than many others. Franklin was the only one remotely at ease in the room. Spartan and dark were all Narn accommodations. A rack of candles rested on a stone table. An ancient book caught in their flickering glow. Kiffer was hanging around the back room, plainly wishing he was somewhere else. Connolly was recovering from whatever it was Navar had given her. And Sheridan? He just wanted to be away from there.
Oh, the same as usual, Lieutenant,
Navar replied.
Or I am so led to believe. I'm a little far out from the political hub here, you know.
Yes, but still, your hub has been very reliable to us, Administrator, Sheridan said. Was that a flash of something in the Narn's blood-red eyes? Something mysterious?
It is always freely given, Captain. In memory of Goras 15.
How long will your repairs take?
About 24 hours or so.
Ugh. The Narn suddenly looked down.
I am sorry for this, Captain. The order came directly from the Kyrie themselves. I disagreed, but I cannot ignore it.
Every instinct in Sheridan's body was warning him about something. And then he caught it. Not a smell, not a sound or sight, but a feeling. A feeling that had never been wrong before. Minbari! Instantly, he grabbed his PPG and spun around so that his back was to the wall. It was too late. The door of Navar's room burst open, and 6 Minbari poured in. Big ones, wearing black and carrying those pikes of theirs. Warrior cast. Sheridan fired instantly, catching the first one square in the chest. The Minbari fell, but the others were fast. So damn fast. Keffer was nearest to them. He made a brief movement of surprise.
but was helpless as a pike smashed across his face, sending him tumbling back against the wall, still and unmoving. Poor Warren. He only ever seemed alive in his beloved Star Fury. Oh! Oh! Warren! Warren, I thought you had a chance, man! I was telling myself, you know what? This is an alternate universe. You could have made it. This is an alternate timeline. Maybe this might be your time to shine. You'll have a character. No such luck, Beavis. Sheridan fired again, but this time he only inflicted a flesh wound. Franklin tried to draw his own PBG, but his instincts were still those of a doctor, not a warrior, and he fell with simple blows to the leg and side. Connolly had managed to get her weapon out, and down one Minbari. The ship comes first! Sheridan activated his link as quickly as he could. Sheridan to Corwin! Get out of here! Repeat! Get the hell out of here! Corwin! You... A pike struck his arm, knocking him off balance and causing him to fumble his PPG. He tried launching forward with a punch, but it barely connected. Damn it, Minbari! They were too fast and too good. A pike crashed against his skull, and consciousness faded. Elsewhere on the rim, a dead world swarmed with life once more. A world only called Sahadu. A shuttle rose up and flew out into space. General William Hague, Chapter 2, looked out from his office window over the gray slag heaps and dusty skies of Proxima 3 and sighed softly. What sort of place was this for a human to live? Where were the grass, the trees, the soft whistling of birdsong in the morning? Proxima 3 was a wasteland, a strategically valuable and important wasteland to be sure, but a wasteland all the same. It was also the new home of the human race. Ever since the Minbari had conquered and then proceeded to destroy Earth, humanity had been forced to flee anywhere and everywhere. Most of their colonies had already fallen. Orion crushed, Mars torn apart, the Vega system under threat, and only saved by letting the Narns take control. Proxima 3 was the last bastion of human strength, the site of the last, best hope for victory over the Minbari. A dry, desolate, foul world. And who was that last, best hope for victory? Not General Hague himself. Certainly not President Marie Kane or Vice President Morgan Clark. No. The last, best hope of the human race was a man who was dead in every way that counted except for the physical. Captain John J. Sheridan, Star Killer. And that last, best hope was over 30 hours overdue from a routine scouting mission to Sector 14. He and his Babylon were effectively all that was left of the once mighty Earthforce. If he was lost anywhere, then so was Earthforce. Some 10 years after Earth itself was lost. General Hague had not been present at Earth during the last dense defense that was the Battle of the Line. He had been vainly trying to defend the Orion colonies, only for the Minbari to tear through their defenses as if they did not even exist. If Sheridan had not come to the rescue shortly before, launching his almost apocalyptic assault on the Minbari fleet, what became known as the Battle of Mars, Hague would have died at Orion. His commute buzzed, and he moved back to his desk. About time, John, he thought. I'm too old for you to give me sharks like this. But the face that appeared in the comment was not Sheridan, but his second, Commander David Corwin. What is it? Hague asked. Report, Mr. Corwin. Our initial scouting of Sector 14 showed that the area was empty, sir. No sign of any Centauri encroachment. But we did run into a Minbari cruiser, probably also on patrol. We destroyed it in a firefight, but the Babylon was seriously damaged. Communications were down, and jump engines dangerously unstable. The captain ordered us to put into Vega 7 for repairs. He went down to the surface to meet Minister Nafar and did not return. I received a message ordering me to take the Babylon away from Vega 7, and only just in time. there was a Minbari cruiser hidden just behind Vega 7's moon. Captain Sheridan and Lieutenants Franklin, Keffer, and Carnali are all accounted for. They may be dead, captured. Fortunately, we have managed to complete most of our repairs, with our communication systems only recently back online. I am requesting permission to return to Vega 7 and find the captain, sir, and to launch a rescue attempt if necessary. General Haig sat back and rubbed his eyes. Permission denied, Commander. But, sir, I said permission denied. The Babylon is too valuable to risk. Vega 7 has been compromised. All we can do is notify the Narn government and abandon the area. As for Captain Sheridan, if he's alive, I'm sure he'll be able to evade or escape capture and make his way back here. He is very resourceful, you know. And if he is dead, then I cannot and will not let you risk our only surviving heavy cruiser on a suicide run. We all need the Babylon too much, Commander. General, please! That is an order, Commander! You are to return to Proxima 3 immediately for a full debriefing. Is that understood? Yes, General. Good. Haig, out. The view screen went blank, and Haig buried his head in his hands in despair. What to do when even the last best hope was gone? First, have a drink. And second, try to find something to tell Sheridan's wife. Corwin also sat back from his view screen on the bridge of Babylon. Like hell! He spat. Lieutenant, set course for Vega 7. We're going to get the captain back if we have to tear every Minbari in existence apart!
I am Grey. I stand between the candle and the saw. We are Grey. We stand between the darkness and light. I come to take the place that has been prepared for me. Delenn drew back the hood of her rough gray robe and stepped into the column of the night, completing the circle of 9.
It is good to have you back with us, Delenn.
Satai Delenn sat to her right.
You seem to be away from us every chance you can get.
I hope it is not our company.
Oh, sure it is, barked a harsh voice across the circle. But we have a commitment to the 9, and to the covenant we formed with Delenn. Do not forget, Delenn, your first duty is always to the Council, not to your personal quest. We are 9 here, after all, not 8.
I do not forget that, Sinoval,
she replied, as the warrior pulled back his own hood.
I merely seek to serve in any way I can.
But which do you serve most, Delenn? The Council or your own interests? Sinoval! barked Hadroon. That is enough. Never has the Satai cast aspirations on the actions of another. We must simply trust that Delenn is serving Delenn, and we are all. Now, we must turn to matters we are discussing. For far too long have the Rangers been leaderless and without order. Brahma's death means that there are no Ezrasa to stand against the enemy that is coming. We must choose one, and swiftly, for without an Itzelsa, there can be no Rangers. If we are unable to choose an Itzelsa, then how many we choose a leader once the cycle of mourning for Dukat is over?
Has anyone been able to find Brahma's choice of replacement? Lenan asked. This out Narun. Narun has made his own decision, Delenn spoke out, hoping that none of the others could hear the pain in her voice. He has felt a calling elsewhere. It would not be right of us to question that.
Narun has run away, Sinoval snorted contemptuously, hiding from the war we must fight. It is a great loss. He served Brahma well in the war, against both the Earthers and the enemy. But if he will not serve, then another must.
But who?
Asked Lenan. None of the others have the desire, or the training, or the talent to lead. The Rangers are warriors, Sinoval pointed out. It is only fitting, since who else must fight the war against the enemy? And who better to lead it than a warrior? I led the Wind Swords well in the war against the Earthers, did I not? Many within my own clan serve as Rangers, do they not? I speak for the warrior caste here, do I not? Satai! I offer myself for the position of Ranger 1. This is impossible, Sanao, as you well know. Your duties as Satai, your duties to the 9, deny you the time to be at Tao. Delenn finds the time to study the prophecies, and that does not detract her duties as a Satai. Or perhaps it does, in which case she should be dismissed from this assembly. Son of all, I've warned you before, no aspirations are to be cast upon a member of this council. Delenn has served us well these last 16 cycles, and she was chosen to cut. You have been here far less time than she, and should display the proper respect. Hedron looked at Sinaval angrily. Worker and warrior, locking gazes across the hall of the council. Delenn looked from one another, with increasing despair. Sinaval's ambitions were well known, but a feud between worker caste and warrior caste could tear apart not only the council, but all of Minbar. That one was filled with pride and arrogance as Sinaval should rise so far was a black thing for all Minbari. But Delenn could not let one warrior destroy the council, not when the argument was fought over her.
Hedron! Sinaval! This council is not a place for arguing and shouting, she said. We all serve as best in what ways we can. If Sinaval believes that he can best lead by leading the Rangers, then so be it!
You will support me? Sinaval said,
suspicion flaring in dark eyes. No, I support the Rangers. I support the fulfillment of the task that is ahead, and I support the actions we must fulfill to that task. If you are the best person to lead the Rangers, as you claim, then you should have position of Ranger 1. If you are not, then we must trust that you will acknowledge this and pass the position on to one better qualified. Without trusting one another, then the council will surely fall, and Minbar cannot be far behind.
The voice of reason as ever,
whispered Lannon, and she smiled at his encouragement. Sinaval suddenly turned as a young acolyte stepped forward to speak with him. His column of light faded, and Delenn was off to stare into blackness in the place. She did not think she liked this new development. When the light came back on, she knew from the expression of triumph on Sinaval's face that she would not.
Fellow Satai, he said, I have great news. The human star killer, Sheridan, has been captured by warriors from the Windswords clan. He is being brought here in chains to face our judgment for his crimes.
Delenn started. Star killer. She knew of Sheridan. All Minbari did. Not only for the Drothi, but also for his direct attack on the very heart of Minbar, the Great Council itself. Mere weeks following the fall of Earth, as the Great Minbari fleet had turned its attention to the other colony on Mars, Sheridan had launched the fullest assault on this very ship, killing 2 Satai and allowing many refugees to flee the planet. And therefore, Sheridan had set in motion a defense to allow Sinaval and Lannon to come in power. As Delenn looked at Sinaval, she doubted the warrior attempted to thank Sheridan for giving him his position. Oh no, not at all. As night fell over the colony of Vega 7, the people therein slept. Marcus Cole, miner, slept a sleep of very drunk and angry. His brother Joseph and his wife Catherine kept a frustrated, distant sleep. Administrator Nafar slept a guilt-ridden sleep of one ashamed. In chains and cells, Lieutenants Franklin and Colony did not sleep, while Lieutenant Keffer moaned with the pain of his injuries. Oh, you survived, Keffer! Good! Maybe you might have more character. Babylon 5 fans, if you do enjoy Keffer, my apologies for riffing this guy a new one. But what can I say? Warren Keffer deserves it. Above the colony world, minor and insignificant, there loomed something ancient and dark, issuing a scream that tore open the sky. Any early warning system was destroyed. It was alone in the night. Except for something beneath the Vega 7. Something recently awakened by mining operations. Something ancient and dark, buried there for millennium. It began to stir.
My name is John J. Sheridan, rank Captain, Earthforce. My serial number...
Delenn looked at the human, in the center of the circle of curious eyes. To think that this was the legendary Starkiller. Just a man, bloodied,
marked but unbowed, standing tall and triumphant even in his chains. No, this was not just a man. He was the Star Killer, and looking at him, Delenn realized he probably could kill stars. "We know who you are, Earther!" Sandoval spat, in Sheridan's native language. Sheridan turned to face him, and Delenn caught just one glimpse of the sheer hatred burning in his human eyes. It mirrored Sandoval's own.
One warrior to another. Is this what Narn meant when he spoke of the urge to fight and struggle, the reach for the very stars, of hatred and fire, and respect and honor burning in one's heart?
"That is all I'm authorized to tell you," Sheridan replied, saying the words obviously by rote. "I demand to know what has happened to my crew members!" "Were irrelevant, Star Killer. Merely lackeys. They will be killed and their remains disposed of." "You bastard!" Sheridan shouted. "I swear to God you'll pay for their deaths, you soulless, black-hearted bastard! For everything you did to Earth, to my people, to my daughter! I'll crush the life from your worthless throat with my own 2 hands!" Sandoval chuckled. "I do not think so, Star Killer. If we are talking about reparations, remember who struck first in this war. Who fired that first shot? Whose blood is on whose hands? There is enough blood on yours to stain an entire generation."
One warrior to another. They may not be of the same blood, but they are the same heart, Delenn started. One warrior to another. The same heart, same soul, the other half of our souls. Vega, no!
"What is it, Delenn?" Lenon asked, obviously noting her distress.
My apologies, Leon. I was merely distracted. There was such hatred in his voice.
She was looking directly at her now, but she stood firm from the steely hate in his eyes.
Such hatred.
"He is a primitive barbarian," Sandoval said. "His language is proof enough of that." "I was not aware you spoke it, Delenn."
I have learned bits and pieces, she said hesitantly. Delenn's name. What if what I suspect is true? It is too obscene to consider. I hope that he will be held until we can decide his fate.
"What is there to decide? He is the Star Killer. The blood of many is on his hands, including 2 who once stood here. Simply execute him and be done with it!"
That would be premature, Delenn said. He may have had information that would be use of us. We must discover what he knows. And I must test what I suspect. Delenn helped me be wrong.
"I agree with Delenn," Hedron said. "If you keep requesting, Sandoval, we do attack the rest of the Earthforce civilization. We will need his knowledge." "Very well," Sandoval acknowledged. "I do not want a human mongrel kept in this place, though. This ship is for us alone. Hold him on the surface."
That would be wise,
Delenn agreed. She looked at Sheridan as he was led out by 2 acolytes. He flashed her a stare, and she met it firmly.
His hatred was almost tangible. Delenn's name. How could anyone hate so much?
And then a memory. Ducat laying in her arms. The humans who had done this still nearby. A question posed to her. A question and an answer. "Kill them! Kill them all!" "And now," Hedron was saying, "the position of the Intazar. My name is John Sheridan. Rank Captain, Earthforce, serial number." Yeah. Keep saying that, Johnny. Maybe I'll let you keep your sanity until they decide to kill you." His first memory, after being knocked senseless on Vega 7, was of waking in a small room. Everything smelled Minbari, and a varying scent, like clove and oil and steel. He did not know how long he had been there, but he remembered being taken before the Circle of Nine, the fabled Great Council no less, and then from there to here, a cold, dark, small cell, somewhere on the surface. They had tried pacing up and down, 3 paces long and 2 wide. But when that did little to relieve his boredom, he tried visualizing Anna. Not as she was now, but as she had been when they had first met, introduced by his sister Elizabeth. When that did not kill the time, he turned to his daughter, also called Elizabeth, and the last time he had seen her, buried under a ton of falling rock as the Minbari bombed Orion 7. He hadn't been able to find her body. Not just his daughter had died that day. His wife had it well, at least inside, erecting a wall around everything that she was and would ever be, only breaking through the wall by drink. He supposed he had died on that day as well, and his wall was similar to hers, but his was only ever broken by battle. The last charge at Sector 14 against the Centauri, the suicide run on the Grey Council ship over Mars, the liberation of General Haig from Orion. In his heart, Captain John J. Sheridan was dead. But then, so was humanity. It made little difference. He started at the sound of the door opening. There was a brief flash of light as someone stepped inside. A darkness again. Darkness and a smell. Orange blossom. It was impossible. But it was orange blossom. Just like in his father's garden when he was a child. And there was light, and the 30-year-old memory faded. And Minbari was in front of him. He had seen her arguing in the hall.
Greetings, she said softly, in English. I am called
Satai Delenn. He finished for her, studying her closely.
She looked almost frail,
but a fire burned in her eyes, just beneath the surface. She seemed to be studying him. I heard your name spoken in council. You're the one who wanted me sent here.
You speak our language.
She did not sound surprised. You aren't the only one to have picked up bits and pieces of someone else's language. What is to stop me from tearing you apart here and now?
You could try, but you would fail.
You can only kill me once. What have I got to lose? She inclined her head slowly.
Surely you have something to live for.
Yeah, I do. The hope I can kill a few more of you monsters before I die! She seemed surprised.
Such hatred,
she whispered in her native tongue. It had something about Delenn.
How can you live with such hatred?
Simple enough, when it's all you've had for 10 years. You took my life, my home, parents, sister, daughter! You took everything away from me until hatred's all I have left!
And all you deserve?
Perhaps, but I don't care anymore.
Then I have a question. Why have you not attacked me? I am Satai. I am the embodiment of everything you hate. Why have you not tried to kill me?
Because you'd be expecting that. And I didn't become the Star Killer by doing what people expect of me.
You seem almost proud of that title.
Earned in battle, granted me by my enemies. Damn straight I am!
I am equally as proud of my title, Satai. Perhaps you understand, Captain.
Whatever. I take it you're here to question me?
No, I simply to talk.
And you expect me to believe that?
No,
she said softly, then doused her light and left, leaving Sheridan to stare after her, only the lingering trace of orange blossom to mark her presence.
Interesting, wasn't she?
Said another voice, a female voice, speaking English. Who? Where are you?
Right here, Captain. Oh, a little light, perhaps.
A brief and dull light illuminated the face of the woman in the corner of the cell.
I entered when she did, and hid here. She didn't see me. You don't have to worry about that.
I didn't see you either. What are you doing here? And how did you get in? Minbari isn't exactly full of humans.
I have a few friends here and there. Don't worry, Captain. I came in to see you. To talk. After we're done, we'll both leave together.
Oh, just like that. Walk out the door. Exactly. Just my luck. Stuck in a Minbari cell with either a mad woman or a hallucination. Hardly mad, Captain. And very real. By the way, my name is Susan Ivanova. And I have one question to ask you. A simple question, really. Captain, what do you want? Holy hell! Oh my gosh! Ivanova's working with the shadows! I need a moment. I need a moment. Whoa. That's, wow. Was not expecting that. I really was not. Wow. Moving on. Chapter 3. Captain John J. Sheridan must have died and gone to hell. Maybe that Minbari pike had done more than merely knock him unconscious for a few hours. Maybe it had caved his skull in, and his body was now lying in some unmarked hole at Vega 7, unadored and unremembered, while his soul was in whatever particular level of Hades the devil reserved for people like him. For people with more blood on their hands than could be found on entire planets. List of charges? Destruction of Black Star. Guilty as charged, and damn proud of it. A foolish attack on the Grey Council, and the death of 2 of its members. As stated, countless Minbari and Sartari over the course of a 14-year war. No defense. His daughter, left alone for a matter of minutes, but just long enough for a Minbari bomb to blow her apart. Negligence? Guilty. Allowing his wife to become a drunken, shot-in shadow of her former self? Guilty. Of giving hope where there could be none to people fighting an unwinnable war? Guilty. A long enough list of charges, and surely enough to guarantee his eternal damnation. John Sheridan had never been especially a religious man, but he believed in hell. He'd seen it when he returned to the ruins of his home world. If that had been hell, then so maybe was this. What do you want? John Sheridan looked at Susan Ivanova. I can't believe it's Susan. And finally decided to reply. If this was an allusion to Minbari trickery, then he could pretend to succumb to it in order to trick them. And if this was some hell-sent denizen about to torture him, then he would accept his fate. He had never fled from anything in his life, and it was not about to start now. Trouble was, having decided to answer the question, he decided he didn't know what answer to give. What do you mean? He said at last. It's a pretty stupid question, don't you think? Coming in a place like this. Do you know anywhere better to ask? She replied, smiling. Perhaps we should go to Las Vegas, and I can ask you there. There is no Las Vegas anymore. I know. It is a pity, really. I would have liked to have seen it, just once. You haven't missed much, believe me. If you say so. Well, Captain, what do you want? Why are you asking me that? It's important. Very important. What do you want? Sheridan laughed. This was absurd. I want to be out of this cell. How's that for a start? Is that all you want? I can't believe your ambitions are so limited, Captain. They aren't. I'm just not sure how to answer the question. Just do your best. He laughed again. If this woman was a demon, she was certainly an entertaining one. I want to return to Babylon. I want to return my crew. I want to be 1,000,000 miles away from this world, and from that high and mighty, perfect Grey Council. I want each and every Minbari right from the face of the planet. I want them to suffer as we have suffered. And I want the Narns to experience something from our point of view as well. After all I've done for them, they betrayed me. So let them suffer. Let their planet be bombed for space, and their people enslaved. And Satai too, while we're at it. They stood back and watched as we fought and died. So let them suffer. I want Earth back, whole again. I want my wife to be the woman she was when I married her. Not the The shadow she is today! I want my daughter back in my arms again. And I want a large vanilla ice cream with a flake of wafer! Ha! Does that answer your question? Ivanova laughed. Quite an attractive laugh, really. I'm not sure what I could do about your daughter, or the ice cream, but I'll see what I could do about the others. Sheridan couldn't help himself. He was laughing too. Just like that, you are an illusion. Can an illusion do this? Ivanova stepped up to the door. He pushed gently. It slid open. Sheridan blinked as light suddenly filled his cell. Then he stared up at Ivanova. She extended her arm. Shall we go then? Or were you planning on staying here? Delenn knew it was Drawl before he began to speak. Over the years, she had come to recognize the sound of his footsteps. It was a comforting sound. It reminded her of her father. You are working again. I suppose I should not be surprised, Delenn. After all, you have never listened to me when you were a child, so why you start now, She turned and smiled. I must have been a terrible burden for you, old friend, to be saddled with such duties to be a child. A burden? No. A challenge, certainly. I have never met anyone with such a desire for knowledge as you, for all that it frequently led you into strange decisions. He paused and looked at her in the study, deep way he often used. What is it, Delenn? Something is troubling you. She knew better than to lie to her old teacher, her father's best friend. I think I have uncovered something, old friend. Something that shakes me to my very core. I pray that I am wrong, but I doubt that I am. This something, would it involve the human Sheridan? Oh, don't look so surprised, Delenn. There are still some on the Great Council who listen to a doddering old man and feed him crumbs of information from time to time. Just enough to keep his mind working. The Star Killer is being held in this very building, Delenn, and I find you here, still studying and working when you do not have to. What is it about this human? He is... I do not know how to describe it, old friend. There is such hatred in his eyes, such capability for destruction. It is both terrifying and strangely reassuring. I cannot explain it, Drawl, only how I feel. I think I have known him for a very long time. Perhaps he is the one the prophecies speak of, the one who is destined to lead us against the enemy that is returning. Or he is simply a mass murderer. I would have thought that one such as him would have been a better candidate to serve the enemy, rather than lead against them. That is what I must know. Where did he side? Is he the one spoken of? There is great possibility within him, and it must be turned to our side. If he could serve our cause, then he would be a very good ally. She made to say more, but hesitated. She knew Drawl suspected her of holding something back, but not even he could suspect this. As he thought Starkiller Sheridan, a man hated and feared throughout the Minbari Federation, housed the Minbari soul. Persuading him to ally with us will be difficult, Delenn, if not impossible. But I must try. It may be that we have our new Antioch locked in a cell in this very building. Drawl's eyes turned hard. I did not hear that, Delenn. It is one thing to speak of Sheridan as a potential ally. For better or for worse, the man is a force in this galaxy. But as Antioch, a human, even this one to lead the Rangers? No, Delenn. That is beyond stupidity and into blasphemy. I am sorry, old friend. I think my mind runs away with me. But would Cinnaval be a better choice? For unless there is an alternative, it will be Cinnaval who will be our new Antioch. I saw Cinnaval and Sheridan in the Hollow Council today. It was as though they were two sides of the same mirror. I fear Cinnaval's ambitions are running away with him. But you cannot stop him when you are down here, Delenn. You are chosen of the Cot. Never forget that. You must be the voice of reason in the council, opposing Cinnaval. You cannot be that if you hide down here all the time. Oh, but I can, Drawl. I can.
She paused and looked up at the man who shaped her life for so long. Then she rose to her feet and made the ritual gesture of departure. He repeated it and watched as she left, never suspecting that beneath her rose she bore a tremulary. That was what's to test Sheridan's soul. The transmissions indicate that Captain Sheridan was taken to Minbar, Commander, the lieutenant said. David Corwin listened and nodded, but said nothing. Minbar. If the resistance government on Proxima 3 knew what he was doing, he would be spaced so fast he would think that he had been born in a vacuum, but this had to be done. Captain Sheridan had saved his life more times than he could count, and now that Sheridan was in danger, Corwin had to go to the rescue. Anywhere on the others? The message we intercepted does say the captain, sir, but I presume... Never presume anything, Corwin snapped. Very well. If we're going to assault the Minbari homeworld, now's as good a time as ever, I suppose. Set course for... Wait, Commander! We are picking up a coded message. It's Earthforce, sir. If it's the resistance government, then... No, sir. It's an old code, but it's 3 or 4 years old. Seems to be coming from Minbar. How could Minbari know 4-year-old... The captain! Put it on! Corwin swiveled in his chair, the captain's chair, and turned to the reception screen. It was fuzzy and blank, but the message came in through clear. Captain Sheridan will be fine. I can get him off of Minbar. But we'll need transportation when that happens. Care to give us a lift, David? Wait at these coordinates. It's a trap, sir. It has to be. No. Oh, no, it isn't. He recognized the voice. It was mouthing a silent prayer of thanks. Set course for the relay coordinates. I think we're going to get the captain back. Sheridan was lost in the labyrinth of Minbari corridors, but Ivanova seemed to know where they were going. Didn't these damned Minbari know how to build a corridor in a straight line? He was also feeling more than a little uncomfortable, and a little more alive. Here he was, on the homeworld of his sworn enemy, with no weapons and a spaceship several systems away, and only a mysterious woman who seemed to be more than half insane. It was exhilarating. You do know where we're going, don't you? He asked Ivanova. He hated trusting others with matters like this. You're too tense. Where's your sense of fun? Of adventure? You aren't trying to cheer me up, are you? I hate being cheered up. Fine then. We're all going to die lingering horrible deaths, especially if the Minbari catch us. Feeling better now? Working for the shadows and see still, Ivanova! Not really. Good. My brother always said I was too pessimistic. They came to a divergence of corridors, and Ivanova looked down both of them. It's this way, she said, indicating one of the routes. I think. Which way did you come in? That's sort of hard to explain. The two of them had taken 4 steps in the direction Ivanova had indicated when the door opened in front of them, and the Minbari stepped out. And not just any Minbari. Satai Delenn. For a brief moment, Delenn was stunned. It was the Star Killer. Somehow, he had escaped. He barely noticed the human woman beside him, focusing instead on Sheridan, forced to step back from the blazing fury in his eyes. Then, the human woman said something, and Delenn turned to her. Time seemed to slow. A moment Commander Corwin called a long second. The human woman was no longer just a woman, but a blackening silhouette. A darkness so absolute it penetrated to her very soul, waking a hatred even more powerful than Sheridan's, because it was hidden behind a calm surface. Delenn thought that was as terrible as the ones he had received concerning Sheridan's soul. The enemy is awake, and has come here! And then she surrendered herself to the instincts of battle, rigorously forced in her by her father, by Duran, by Narun. It did not matter who the woman was, or why she was interested in Sheridan. It only mattered that she served the enemy that Delenn had dedicated her life to fighting. She struck forward, lashing out with her fist, catching the human woman off guard, knocking her backwards. The human woman stumbled, but Sheridan moved forward. He seemed to hesitate before hitting her,
A brief moment that allowed Delenn to duck his punch and strike out of his belly. He too stumbled, and she gained enough time to unfold her fighting pike, a weapon centuries old, given to her and loved by Narn. It was a deadly weapon in the hands of a master, and while Delenn was no Duran, she had been trained well enough. Backing up against the council, she gripped the staff tightly in both hands. She did not know human physiology as well as she might have, but she knew enough to incapacitate these two. Then the council would have to be warned. Not that the Sheridan had escaped, but the enemy was here. There was a sudden noise, a buzzing and crackling. Delenn started and turned. There was a shimmering directly in front of her eyes. A shimmering in the shape of a giant, misshapen crab. Reason left her, and she lunged forward with her staff, lancing out vainly at the beast before her. A beast from each and every one of her worst nightmares. It moved with a speed that seemed impossible. One swift motion, and she fell in agony, very much aware the warm dampness in her belly was her own blood. "What the hell was that?" Sheridan asked, as he stared at the fallen Delenn. "Do you mind telling me?" "A friend, Captain. You'll find we have them everywhere. Come on! She might have raised an alarm or something." Ivanova bent down and picked up the strange weapon Delenn had been using. "A quick blow to the neck, and she'll be out of your misery, Captain." Orange Blossom. "No. We'll take her with us." "And you said I was crazy." "Look, the Minbari won't threaten us if we got one of the Great Council with us. Think what a hostage she makes, not to mention what she knows. Now come on. You said you know of a way out of this place." Ivanova shrugged and compressed the pike. "Always wanted one of those. Asked my father for a present for Christmas one year. It's this way." As Sheridan bent down to pick Delenn, he noticed a small triangular object had fallen from her robes. Without thinking, he stuffed it into a pocket. He was surprised about how light the Minbari was, and the fact that the scent of orange blossom was now replaced by the smell of blood and death. Had he been preoccupied, he might have noticed the same buzzing and crackling noise that had so affected Satai Delenn. "Captain, good to see you again. That is, good to have you back, sir." "Good to be back, David." Sheridan stepped off the shuttle into the small docking bay adored to Babylon. "We have a guest in need of urgent medical assistance. If you could get Dr. Kyle to have a look at her, stat." "I'm here, Captain," the elderly doctor said, pushing past Sheridan into the shuttle. Ivanova was staying very quiet. The doctor captain came out. "But, Captain, she's a Minbari, I know. To be more precise, she's Satai Delenn of the Great Council." Corwin whistled softly. "Shh. She may be just our means of ending this whole thing, and even if she isn't, can you think of a better hostage?" "Trust you to come out smelling like roses, sir." "Smelling of orange blossom, more like." "Sorry, sir?" "Nothing. How is she, doctor?" Delenn's head wound had seemed quite serious at first, but Sheridan had seen the incredible Minbari constitution firsthand. She had remained half-conscious all the time he had been carrying her from the complex to the shuttle, and then the shuttle from the planet to the Babylon. She had drifted in and out of consciousness. They encountered no resistance during their escape. It was something that worried him quite a bit. "She'll recover. It looks worse than it is." Sheridan nodded. "Good. I want her alive. She has a lot of questions to answer." "She's not the only one," Corwin muttered. "Captain, what exactly happened on Vega 7? And how did you get out of there so easily? I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful or anything, but you don't just leave the Minbari homeworld like it was a corner shop!" "That's funny. I was wondering the same thing myself." Sheridan glanced at Ivanova, who stepped out from behind him. "I told you, we have friends everywhere, Captain." But Sheridan did not hear Ivanova's surprise response. He only heard Corwin's reaction. "Susan! You two know each other?" To Sheridan's surprise, Ivanova sidled up to Corwin and, staring at his still dumbfounded face, gave him a very long and passionate kiss. "You two do know each other!" We used to, Cora replied. I thought you were dead. I mean, I hope from the voice, but then I thought it couldn't be you. You were dead. I was. I got better. Ivanova, you may be working for an evil alien race from beyond time and space, but I still love you, girl. Carlo was still staring at her, but then he shook his head and blinked. I'm sorry, Captain. I was distracted. I could see that. What word on Lieutenants Keffer, Franklin, and Canelli? None, sir. I thought they were with you. I don't know where they are, but I know a Narn who does. Nafar set me up, and I want to find out why. He mentioned something about the Kyrie, and the Narns have started working with the Minbari. Then we're all in trouble. Except, of course, for Vega 7. He looked at Ivanova. Mysteries can wait until later. Satai Delenn, Sha'ati of the Holy Jihad, warrior of the Windswords clan, member of the Great Council, and soon to be Antiza, entered his personal quarters and looked sharply at the person already there. Starkiller has escaped. He walked out from this very building where you had assured me he would be safe. He simply walked out, and no one would thought would try to stop him. As if my guards had been ordered not to interfere, to not even notice he was there. But that could have only happened if I ordered it, and I certainly did not do that! I took a few liberties, Sinoval. Apologies if I caused offense. I suppose you had good reason. Just call it a crashing into many favors you owe me. Actually, I have it on good authority that Sheridan was seen to someone, a certain friend of yours. I doubt it's common knowledge yet, but I don't think Satai Delenn would be bothering you in the council much anymore. You're certain of this. Sheridan killed her? Killed or captured? It doesn't matter. If you're smart, you could blame his escape on her. I knew you'd like it. So tell me, is your gain worth his disappearance? I will not rest until Sheridan and all with him are dead. Blood calls out for blood. For the Ralphie, for the Effie, for the Gato, for... Yes, I know. You'll have your chance with him soon enough. Be patient, as I have. Besides, now you'll be able to take the war to the Earthers, with little interference for Delenn. I still like there to be there when you do it, of course. Personally, I owe the Earthers too much to stand by while you wipe them out with those lovely weapons I provided you with. Well, what do you say that to Inza? Or should it be, Holy One? I say that you have earned your certificate to stay. As he smiled, Senova turned to the War Master Jahardur, last of the Jakar, and indeed more than earned a name that caused her to be hated and reviled throughout the galaxy. Deathwalker. Chapter 4. Fellow Satai. Senova bowed his head lowly, wanting to pull down his hood, to hide his face from the empty circle of light which stood across the chamber from him. For so long he had desired this, but now it was here, that his greatest appointment in the Great Council was gone. He felt strangely ashamed. Satai Delenn is lost to us. What do you mean, lost? Barked Satai Delenn, religious caste. It does as new as the council as Senova himself. But Lenan had no clan leadership, no warship of loyal soldiers, no great record in the jihad against the Earthers. Nothing to support him. He was simply a simpering non-entity, fawning after Delenn. What happened to her? Starkiller has escaped. He had assistance from elsewhere during his escape. He encountered Satai Delenn and took her with him. As a hostage, I presume. I shudder to imagine that she went with him willingly. What are you saying? Shouted Delenn. Are you accusing? I am accusing no one, and I am saying nothing. Sinopol reported for gritted teeth. He hated doing this. He hated casting doubt, however indirect, upon a fellow member of this council. But it had to be done. Sheridan had help in his escape, but that help did not come from Delenn. And if Delenn were not blamed, then investigation might lie upon Senova himself, and upon the creature he had protected. Still, he looked at Lenan, felt a surge of anger. Delenn was at least worthy of respect. Lenon was not. Did Delenn really have no better supporter than this? Well, Lanier's nowhere to be seen! Sheridan's attack on this very ship, shortly after the destruction of Earth, killed two of her greatest supporters. But Lenon was really the one to speak up for her? No, he was not. She will have to be found and rescued, Hedron said, arabesque and to the point as ever. Sandoval admired the man. She is one of the 9, and she will be found. Sheridan has left the planet. Our sensor probes detected a human shuttle leaving the atmosphere. For some reason, they did not alert us to this fact until many hours later. He is undoubtedly bed up with his ship. Then, they are lost to us? Breathed Lenon, his voice filled with anguish Sandoval himself shared. To have Sheridan, Starkiller, in his grasp, only to lose him again. And to have one of the 9 fall before him. Sandoval did not like Delenn, but she was of the 9, as was he. And all thanks to the machinations of a creature he should have killed the moment he laid eyes on her. Instead, he had become intrigued, listened, and learned, and fallen. Not for nothing did they call her Deathwalker. No, Sandoval said. Blood calls out for blood. The blood of those slain on Darathi, on the Enthi, the blood of two Satai, even the blood of Delenn. It all called out for blood. Sheridan's blood. Sheridan is an Earther, and Earthers are predictable people. He will return to the site of his earlier capture, to find his missing crewmen, and discover why he was betrayed. He will be returning to Vega 7. I doubt he will return from there, Hedron stated, and Sandoval stared. He had not expected a reaction from the determined worker. Vega 7 is touched by a force far greater than our own. Our probes have detected something moving there. Something ancient and dark. Something that seeks to fly again. Sandoval's face turned white. Oh gods! Oh no, not a shadow warship! Please don't let that be a shadow warship! How is she? Sheridan asked Dr. Kyle. Delenn's breathing was harsh and ragged, but the movements of her chest seemed to be returning to a steady rhythm. He still did not know what brought the Minbari down. He only caught the faintest glimpse of movement and a soft scream. Ivana tried to pass it off, but he knew better. She's fine. Minbari have a remarkable constitution. She will be on her feet in a few hours, I suppose. A stomach wound is painful, but if caught early enough, it can be repaired. Good. She has one hell of a lot of questions to answer. And she isn't the only one. Keep me informed. Sheridan left the small lead lab facilities, aboard the Babylon, in a conflict of emotions. What was going on? He could have attacked Delenn, maybe killed her. So why hadn't he? He told her it was because he didn't like doing the unexpected. But was that the whole truth? Why did she smell so tantalizing of orange blossom? And who was the woman who rescued him? Start at the end and work your way backwards. Not exactly Sherlock Holmes, but at least he had a place to start. He found Corwin exactly where he expected to find him. In his ready room just off the bridge, poring over star maps and technical data. What news on repairs? Sheridan asked. Did you get them all done before? Mostly, sir. Holotarchy is back up to over 80%. Communications, navigation, and rotation are all back online, as are our jump engines, although they are still a bit unstable. They'll need a thorough overhaul when we get to Proxima. We can't repair the hull around the observation dome. And external cameras, F-berries, and Star Ferry drop port C are still inoperable, sir. Not good, but it could be worse. Sir? It probably is. General Haig told me in unknown certain terms to, leave you and the others behind, sir. So you said screw 'em? Basically, yes. Well, that was an incredibly stupid and irresponsible thing to do, Mr. Corwin. However, I can't thank you enough. Just don't do it again. Corwin smiled. No, sir. Not for the first time, Sheridan was struck by how young his commander and executive officer was. Too young to fight back on Earth, he had been one of hundreds of thousands of refugees who escaped from the Battle of Mars just after the line. where Sheridan had launched his berserk attack on the Green Council. The difference was that none of the other refugees had made their way up to the bridge and taken over the helm when the lieutenant manning it had been killed. Sheridan had appointed Corwin second lieutenant on the spot, and ever since Corwin had raised his way up to almost as fast as Sheridan himself, one of the many attached to his coattails, one of many who would probably die a lonely, pointless death on an alien world. I have another question, David. A more personal one. How do you know Miss Ivanova? Susan? She was an Earthforce, sir. She joined back on Earth and was away on a training run at Ganymede when the Minbari took Earth. Somehow, she made her way to Proxima 3 and managed to get attached to General Franklin's personal staff. I met her there when the Babylon was being refitted and redesigned a few years ago. The resistance government insisted I be posted somewhere so they could keep an eye on me. I didn't think they trusted me then, and they certainly won't after this. I'll deal with that. Thank you, sir. Anyway, I met Susan and, well, things got him. I'm a married man, David. I understand. Thank you, sir. Corwin was blushing. Then I was posted back here, and Susan was sent out on a secret mission for General Haig. They called it the Babylon Project, after the ship. I didn't know what she was doing exactly, but we kept in touch and met up whenever we could, but, well, she was on some sort of secret mission out on the rim. We heard a report that her shuttle had crashed, and that everyone on board died. I was quite upset about it, sir. Yes, I remember. God, why didn't I see anything back then? Why didn't I ever notice her? Or you? I think we were all a little mad back then, sir. Madness takes a while to heal. Sometimes it never heals, Mr. Corwin. Sheridan rose and left the room. He was still tired, and still had more questions than answers. He wanted some sleep before he arrived on Vega 7. Sleep and answers. And his daughter. It wasn't his daughter waiting for him when he opened the door. How did you get in here? Susan smiled. Just a knack. She was lying on his bed, absolutely naked. Are you coming in or not? Sheridan could only stand in his doorway and stare. Anna, almost superimposing herself on the sight before him. He caught the faintest hint of orange blossom. He closed his eyes and silently wept. Then he took a step forward, and the door closed behind him. Come on, Doc. Hang in there. Come on, Warren. Hang in there. Hurts, Doc. Damn. I wish I could remember what to do. I only stopped being a doctor a few years ago. Warren! How much do we need to do for him, Stefan? You can see that wound. I won't let him die, Nemoma! You might have to. Any word from the Babylon yet? No. Come on, Warren. Don't you die on me. Don't you dare! Who are you? Susan smiled. That's a very philosophical question. Since when did you become a Vorlon? Sheridan was pacing slowly up and down his room, while Susan was casually laying on the bed, smiling, looking more at home here than he did. And why not? He hardly ever was here. When he was on the Babylon, he was always either on the bridge or in the ready room, or flying a stir-fry. Susan looked so at home on his bed. That's Anna's place. She belongs there. You know what I mean. Why? I don't understand any of this. You didn't need to understand anything a half hour ago. I do now. You've been talking to Gavin, I gather. A nice boy. And what we had together was fun. But that's all it was. Fun. I always knew he'd go far. A commander, eh? Well. Still, I'm changed now. I've been ever since I arrived on Zahadum. Zahadum, the base of operations of your friends. What are they? Aliens? Humans? I saw a bit of what hit the land, and that was nothing I had ever seen before. They're aliens, and I wouldn't advise you trying to pronounce the name, unless you could speak Welsh, of course. It's 10,000 letters long. She paused,
and drew in a deep breath. I'm not sure how to explain this to you. They're old, very old, and they're powerful, but all they want to do is live in peace. The planet my shuttle crashed onto, Zahadum, is their homeworld, and a very holy place for them. They worship something there. I don't know what. Anyway, my friends, they have a long-standing grudge with the Minbari. All my friends want to do is live in peace, but the Minbari won't let them. I don't know why, but I guess the Vorlons have something to do with it. 1,000 years ago, my friends tried to return to Zahadum after being driven away. The Minbari objected and went so far as to attack Zahadum with the help of the Vorlons and a few other long-dead races. My friends were forced to flee, but they left a few behind, hidden from the Minbari. I sort of attracted their attention when I crashed on their heads. They're actually pretty friendly. Or, well, they were once I explained the situation. They want to return to Zahadum and live there. But there's also the Minbari and Vorlons to consider. So they're helping to help us, because they know what you are going through. They won't want to have to destroy the Minbari, but they'll do it because all they want is to live alone, in peace, on their world. Is that so much to ask?
The Minbari are one thing, Sheridan said. What about the Vorlons? If your friends get involved, then we might have the Vorlons annoyed with us. I do not want that to happen. It would make the line look like a hurt social.
Exactly. Which is why my friends can't lend their support openly. They're having to move slowly. But they'll do what they can to help.
Thank you.
I thought you'd be pleased. These are the first decent allies we've had since the whole thing got started. So, what if they can't come out in the open? They're willing to help us, Captain. Maybe even help us get revenge. We can't get Earth back, and you can't get your daughter back. But we can still make those monsters that did it to us pay.
Something suddenly clicked in Sheridan's mind. He turned to Ivanova. What did you want? If they asked you the same question that you asked me, then what did you want?
Ivanova smiled. His legs beat. Cursing silently, he went to his desk and picked it up.
Yes? We reached Vega 7, sir. We're out of hyperspace. The temp engines are down, though, I'm afraid. Again, our repairs weren't complete. It'll take them a while to get back online. So we can get close to Proxima, but that isn't the worst of it.
What do you mean?
We scanned the planet, sir.
Out of a total population of over 400,000 Narns and humans, we have a grand total of 5 life signs.
5?
I think you'll find that is more than 4, than less than 6.
Ivanova interjected, then shrugged when Sheridan glared at her. I'll be up on the bridge in a minute, David. Sheridan out. He turned to Susan.
5. Out of the whole planet.
What happened to them all?
He was beginning to dress hurriedly when his leak beat again. It was Dr. Kyle.
Captain, someone just tried to kill your Minbari, guess.
It was Maya Hernandez, Dr. Kyle said.
She was trying to corrupt the blood we were giving with the mezzanine. It's a painkiller and sulfuric for humans, but it can be deadly to Minbari, especially in large doses.
Mind telling me why you've never mentioned this little biological weakness before, Doctor?
Kyle shot Sheridan an angry look. I heal, Captain. I do not kill. Besides, mezzanine is only effective in the bloodstream. Not a useful weapon, really.
Oh, hell. I know. I'm sorry, Doctor. Things have been a little weird lately. Where's Dr. Hernandez now?
No idea. She fled as soon as I caught her.
Any idea why she did it?
Husband had died. Son died on Earth. Maybe she's just seen too much of this war. We all have. Have her found and lock up. Yes, sir.
Corwin looked uncomfortable ever since he had linked his message to Sheridan.
Will you want this done before or after I come back from the planet?
You won't be coming to the planet, Dr. Corwin. I need you to run things here. I'll be going.
Captain! Have you forgotten what happened the last time you went down there?
No, and I'm not likely to.
Trust me, Mr. Corwin. But you can't go there alone. I don't think 5 life signs are going to be much of a threat. Besides, I won't be going alone. She's coming with me. He pointed to Delenn, sitting impassively on a chair on the end of her bed. Her hands were manacled together, but her face expressionless and calm. I'm not letting her out of my sight. She has too much information to let her die. And no, Mr. Corwin, she's not going to run off anywhere. I'll take a full security team down to the plant with me if you insist. But that will be all. Good day, Mr. Corwin. You, he looked at Delenn, come with me. Silently, her face as calm as ever, rose and followed him, looking as tranquil in her dignity as she did proud in her chains. Minbari, dead Minbari, destroyed Earth, finished Earth, ruined it, killed everyone. Killed. Catherine, come on, Catherine. Wake up, Catherine. You can't die on me. Joseph's dead. You can't die too. Please, Catherine. Please. Minbari, Catherine. Joseph dead. Earth gone. Everyone gone. But me. I'm here. I'm always here. Catherine. I love you, Catherine. I love you, Catherine. You won't die. Everyone around him was dead, and so was the man called Marcus Cole. But his death was not the death of flesh, but the death of spirit, the death of futile dreams and ambitions and hopes. For Marcus Cole, something new and terrible was born. What do you think happened here? Delenn remained silent, staring straight ahead. Sheridan looked at her calm demeanor and wished he possessed the same. He could not look at the burnt buildings, rubble, devastation, and the nightmare that had once been Vega 7, and maintain other than a slow, shimmering anger. So like Earth. Just so like Earth. Landing the shuttle had been difficult, with so little flat space. But the land it had, and now they were walking through the rubble of devastation, stepping over crushed and burnt bodies, heading for the SOS signal that Corey identified. Vega was rubble, and Sheridan could not help but wonder if this had happened in spite of his actions or because of them. There was a sound to his left, and his PVG ready. One of the security guards had done the same. Sheridan gestured for him to lower his weapon, and he moved forward. He lay, her skull crushed, and kneeling over her, whispering something over and over again, was a man. Tears of pain and agony running down his cheeks, into his short black beard. He looked up, and for a brief instant, Sheridan saw himself reflected in those eyes. Himself as he had been. My name is John Sheridan, he said, slowly lowering his PPG. 1 out of 5. Stalk it. She's dead. They're all dead. Who was it? What happened here? Minbari. Must have been. Didn't see them. But who else could it have been? Minbari. I'm Marcus. Marcus Cole. Do you have anywhere we could take you to? Family, perhaps, on another world. All dead. Except me. He had a slightly strange accent, and Sheridan realized it was English. He hadn't heard an English accent in years. Everyone's calling except me. And you helped me, Stalkilla. Helped me to kill them all. Hatred. Such a cycle. It never ended, did it? Sheridan had similar words after the death of his daughter. Could everyone ever find the courage to break free of the old ways? The old cycles, old vendettas? Could Sheridan himself? Perhaps he didn't want to. I'll do what I can. You'll be welcome aboard to Babylon, Mr. Cole. Thank you. We can arrange to have these bodies buried, if you like. Let's leave them. Just the shells. Nothing more. Can I help you at all? Do you know the way to the main bureaucratic center here? I need to know if anyone survived there. Yes, it's this way. Follow me. Sheridan marveled at Marcus's stilted, precise delivery. Such control should be impossible after such loss, and sooner or later, the grief must burst again. Sheridan half expected it to happen when he saw Delenn, but he simply ignored her. Marcus led them through the rubble-strewn streets and battered bodies. He must have known some of the dead, but said nothing. It was as though the destruction of his home planet destroyed his spirit as well. Sheridan looked at Delenn, but she was also silent. Had the Minbari done this? Could they have done this? This was just like Earth.
so like Earth. And there they were, Franklin and Connolly, working on two slunched forms. One was Narn, the other.
Oh my god! Sheridan breathed. How is he, Steven? Not good.
Sheridan made a gesture, and the Dr. Kyle had insisted he bring along Russ forward. He and Franklin began to working over Keffer's body. He was moaning, but softly this time. Then Sheridan saw the Narn. It was Nafar. He hasn't been saying much, Connolly said. He's dying as well. Whatever you want him to tell you, you better ask him now, Captain. Sheridan cast one look at his crewmen and scrambled toward the Narn who had betrayed them. His legs were crushed, face burned and blistered. There was such loss and grief in his blood-red eyes.
Go on, forgive me,
he whispered, in the Narn dialect Sheridan understood.
Go on, protect me.
What happened here? Who did this?
The enemy. Ancient and dark. The enemy. Taquan, forgive me. Should have listened. Listen to Minbari. They... No.
The words trailed off, and Sheridan looked up. He hadn't heard the last two words, but what he heard was enough.
Damn.
He heard Franklin swear. Sheridan didn't need to be told. Keffer was dead. Darn it, Keffer! I thought you would make it! I really did! I thought that just this once you would actually make it and have something of a character! For once, could there be a fanfic where this guy could actually have something resembling a character I can latch onto? We were being kept underground, Connolly was saying. I don't know how we survived. But War, he was slower than we were. He was also that developed. That blow earlier hit him pretty hard. He couldn't move fast enough. Then, the wall came down. Sheridan turned away, still and quiet. Everything else seemed irrelevant. He heard Marcus say something to Connolly, and Connolly reply. Franklin and the doctor were talking softly, but the only words he reached his ears were Delenn. Valens, guard your souls. Sheridan's fun to space her, without thinking, without anger or hatred, with just a cold, solid finality. He struck her in the face. Her hands restrained. She fell backwards onto the rubble. Sheridan had drawn his PPG, again without thinking, and he was pointing it at her. There was a buzz as it charged. It was the long second again. An eternity of time where all that mattered was the look in her eyes, like a startled child who lost her innocence. Disgusted, although with himself or with her he did not know, Sheridan replaced his PPG.
Death's too easy for you.
Pfft, he spat.
Come on, bring Warren's body back to the shuttle.
He deserves a decent send-off at least. And they left Vega 7 behind them. A dead world filled with only the dead and memories of the living. Dr. Hernandez was running scared. She failed. Dr. Kyle spotted her, and now they were looking for her. Security. Why? Didn't they understand? The Minbari bitch shouldn't be allowed to live! But she should have been left to rot. Just like everyone on Earth. Just like Maya's husband. Just like her son. But Hernandez had a friend. A friend who explained everything. Who talked it over with her. Made her understand. Who told her everything she needed to do. Are you there? Maya panted. This was where she told her would be safe. This was where her friend said would meet her. Everything would be all right now. Are you there? I'm here, said a soft voice. I got caught, and security is looking for me. But why? She deserves to die, right? You told me that! She deserves to die! Why are they hunting me? Because I did what I had to do! You failed. I need that Minbari bitch dead. She knows who I am. What I am. You fail, and you'll draw attention to me. I can't allow that. You're scaring me. Good. A soft motion, a dull thud, and Dr. Maya Hernandez was dead before she had a chance to understand what was happening to her. Susan Ivanova compressed her Minbari fighting pike and stepped out of the shadows. So, one attempt had failed. It wasn't the end of the world. She had time. Time enough to see that Minbari whore dead.
From the stars we came, and to the stars we shall return. From now until the end of time. Sheridan finished the ritual elegy and stared at the blank view screen. Blank because the external cameras weren't working. They should have been in the observation dome, but it was still damaged. This was unfair. Cathcart deserved a better send off than this. No, he didn't! Not even any time to give him a Star Fury escort. This was not fair. He looked away from the blank screen to the others on the bridge. Franklin was quiet, bitter anger in his eyes. Sometimes the man still thought like a doctor. Corlin looked uncomfortable. Connolly was not around, probably drinking a toast to Kefra's memory. And Delenn? Were those genuine tears in her eyes? Or simply a result of the bruise he had given her? How long until jump engines are back online, Mr. Corwin? A good half hour or so, I'm afraid. Just shot up to hell. Sheridan nodded soberly, and then Delenn spoke up. Captain, please, you must listen to me. My people would never do something like this. It was another race, an older race. Your companion isn't part of them. Is a part of them. They are evil, dark, and terrible. We must kill them. Shut up! I don't care what you call them, but Susan told me all about them. I know a little bit about your vendetta. I don't know why it started, and I don't care. All I know is that for the first time in 14 years, we're not alone any longer. Captain, please, you have to listen to me! Do I have to gag you? You're here because I want to keep you where I can see you. Because I need you alive. But when the day comes that doesn't apply, I'll volunteer to be the one who presses the button that sends you out to space. I will face death, but not before I have spoken! Sheridan drew his PPG and pointed directly at her. She met his eyes with cold indifference, but there was a dark pleading at the center. He regretted his words the instant they left his mouth, but it would no good now. How you face death doesn't concern me. Now shut up, or I'll have you gag. Captain! Franklin spoke of it suddenly. 2 jump points are opening right on top of us! Oh, hell. Minbari, begin offensive maneuvers, David. Let's Star Furies and get those sub-engines back online ASAP! How could they find us here? We're behind the moon, for God's sake! No idea, Captain, Corwin said. They're hailing us. Sheridan gritted his teeth and looked at Delenn. She was staring at the 4. On screen. Maybe we could talk our way out of this one. And Minbari's face appeared on the view screen. She did not bother with her instructions. You have Satai Delenn. You will turn her over to us and surrender yourselves immediately. Do the words "not a hope in hell" ring a bell? We've got the upper hand in here. You can't fire on us and risk killing your precious Satai Delenn, can you? The view screen went back. Can they? They are a warrior caste, Captain, Delenn said suddenly. My death, especially where you could be blamed for it, would suit them only too well. Politics. Great. David! I'm doing what I can, sir. Wait. Another jump point opening. Sheridan got to his feet. There must be something we could do. Oh my God, Franklin whispered. Both Minbari ships have been destroyed. There's something out there, but I've never seen anything like it before. That's impossible. Nothing's that strong or that fast. Try to hail them. Nothing, sir. Trying and failing. They've gone. Nothing that fast. They need to give their jump engines a chance to cool down a little at first. Who the hell were they? Did the external cameras pick up anything? Negative, sir. They're all still offline. We didn't have time to launch any Star Furies. Whatever that thing was, nobody saw it. What could they have been? Sheridan sat back down. One of my friends, Captain. It was Susan, walking casually onto the bridge and smiling. Our friends, I should say. I thought we might be in a little danger here, so I asked them to come in and help us out. That was one of our friends? 2 Minbari cruisers in 10 seconds? If need be. They're on our side now, Captain. They can't help often, but when they can, they will. Sheridan looked around at his bridge crew, seeing the awe on his faces. Awe and something he doubted he would ever see again. Hope. It looks like things are finally going our way. After 14 years, things are going our way. He let out a laugh. Then the whole bridge was laughing, smiling, and cheering. One grain of hope in a decade of despair. The whole bridge, except one. Well, Satai Delenn? It looks like we aren't alone anymore. I don't know who these allies are, but at least they're willing to fight, which is more than the Narns will. What do you think about that, eh, Satai Delenn? What do you think about that? She looked at him, face very pale. There was fear in her eyes.
I think we are all doomed, Captain. Delenn, help us. I think that we are all doomed. Well, that was an interesting first chapter part of a 5-book series, which is essentially what would happen if you read up to Fallout Equestria just up to where we meet up with Calamity. And we have Calamity attack the stable. That was a really good first part. What can I say? It's Babylon 5. It's awesome! It feels like a good book. I felt like it was in a good episode, and I felt like everything had just gotten started. Everybody, surprisingly, despite the fact that they were a lot darker in nature, still had some bits of their characters in. Like, Delenn, still noble, very religious, and still ready to fight and kick butt when need be. Ivanova was still awesome, snarky, and cool. Marcus, despite the fact that he was the one changed the most, still felt like Marcus. And of course, Commander Sheridan was just the commander. What can I say? You got a team of Sheridan, Kirk, and friggin' Ben Sisko on our team. I think you probably wipe out both the Borg and the Shadows in no time at all. And the thing is, I realized that this is only the first part, and look at how well it was done. That's like how Fallout Equestria, I can see why it's so great within about the first 7 chapters. Well, actually, to be fair, it was good during the first 7. Then around chapter 10 or so, it became awesome. Then it became my favorite fanfic of all time around chapter 14. This is working that way up. It's becoming a companion piece to Fallout Equestria. While I would have to read the whole thing before I had to say just how much I love it, this, once again, has me just look at everybody who keeps telling me about how awful fanfics are, or, fanfics are nothing more than lemons, badly done OCs, Mary Sue's, or badly done crossovers. This has me looking at those people and going, you're kidding, Rat. The changes on here made sense. Glorious sense. They worked really well. As long as you think about it, if you know your show, you know why these things happened. Without a desire to continue traveling and being forced to become a fighter due to his dad's death, Stephen no longer is the doctor that we know and love. He has no way of actually training to become, the skilled alien doctor that he is. Sheridan has little time to actually build up his life of his wife, but due to the fact that Minbari are now in a danger, that humans are now in a dangerous species, there is no way for the humans to be able to create a research vessel for them to head to Zahadum. So it now becomes a secret mission from Ivanova, the one who has a brother that died, to explore. Connolly gets to stay on the ship just a little bit longer. And of course, the Narns are a lot less fighting because, they got nobody to actually offer help to keep an eye on the Centauri. Everything falls into a wonderful, beautiful place. And I think what I like the best is that Sheridan, oh good God. Sinclair's dead, isn't he? Anyway, that Sheridan, oh yes, Sheridan. He ends up taking
down! Not just a couple of Minbari cruisers, but actually attacks the Grey Council. Yeah, Sir Arthur's gone, but you just made, all that did was just make him worse.
Yeah. And Sheridan was already a badass in the show, I'll tell you. So, all in all, great fic. And if you people, and if the guy who wrote this story is listening, or the people who are supporting the site are listening to this live read, first off, hi, welcome to the show. This is Fandom Fridays, where we proceed to read a whole bunch of many Universe fanfics. I'll probably do another part of this one day, but probably nothing. It's definitely on my list. Hi, welcome back to the show. Hi, welcome to the show. My pleasure to meet you. Have a few drinks. Please let me continue hosting this on YouTube, and please allow me to do the rest, because, quite frankly, I think this needs it. And looking at this fic, I've been thinking about the B5 fandom, and I've read fan lore about how leading into B5, how the B5 fandom is very welcoming when people have said, "Oh, I don't think there's that many B5 fans." B5 fans will start swarming over and saying, "Good job." And I realized that how small technically the show was, and maybe how small the audience for the show was. And then we got a huge audience like Pony, which continues to grow. And I realized that when the show's over, I think I've seen my future. I think I've seen my future as a brony in the eyes of the Babylon 5 community. And it is good. So you know what? We bronies and Babylon 5 fans, I think we should get together more often. I really do think so. Because I think this could be a beginning of a beautiful friendship. Because you want to know why? I think the truth is, we share the same soul. I'll see you next time.